John Felt here, and this is the weekly weather briefing for June 16th, 2019. You know, as we go from spring into summer, sometimes we get quieter weather. You know, we get the afternoon and evening thunderstorms, and other than that, you know, it's fairly quiet. But so far that has not been the case. We have very dynamic weather across large parts of the nation, anywhere from some unusually cool to very oppressive heat. Not so much dry, other than very isolated spots, but definitely wet with flooding in many other spots. So we look at precipitation over the last week. What we see here is we do see fairly dry western U.S., but then we do see over the east, we see some areas here of heavier precipitation. Right in these areas right here, this is on the Ohio River basin, and also scattered areas of the southeast U.S. Now, it's not real organized, also Oklahoma. It's not real organized, and if you remember a number of weeks ago, it's not nearly as widespread. The other good thing is over the upper Mississippi, even though we did have some precipitation, an inch or two, it's probably not widespread enough to give you an additional rise on parts of the upper Mississippi coming downstream in this region here. So that's good news. As far as temperatures go, temperatures were generally above normal in the west, so it was a warm and dry week in the west. In the middle part of the U.S., especially where we had the rainfall, you can see temperatures were held down to a few degrees below normal. And spots that had the more persistent rain, 6 degrees or more below normal. So we do have a soupy air mass. We have temperature or dew point temperatures in the middle 70s in some spots. So combining with some heat, we're going to have very high heat index readings or oppressive heat over parts of the south central and southeast U.S. Now, if you have a good memory, you might remember a couple weeks ago as far as soil moisture, we had a lot more areas with a darker blue. So we are getting some improvement, including over some key ag areas in the Midwest where we're getting back to normal. But there's still enough vulnerability in spots, both for agriculture getting in fields and also from additional rain causing enhanced runoff. But overall, the trend has been a reduction of saturated soils in some spots, but not all. Now, we do have a lot of high stream flow. You can see here that over the last week, over the Ohio River Basin, it was a small part of the Ohio River Basin. It was tributaries, not so much the main stem river, was active. We have continuing high flows in the middle part of the nation and parts of the upper Midwest. And then we have low flows due to the dry weather over the Pacific Northwest. As far as the Mississippi and Missouri go, the upper Mississippi and Missouri are falling. As the high flows work down into the middle part of the Mississippi, there's some attenuation, so it's still rising, but then gradually just a sustained high flows over the lower Mississippi. You can also see on the Ohio, that's a region where we've had tributaries responding to the heavy rain. Now, soil temperatures are plenty warm enough for active vegetation growth. That's important because that's one of the things that will help us dry out our soils and also reduce runoff. Okay, so let's dig into the forecast here. Well, what we have here is we have a very different jet stream than we saw a couple weeks ago. Remember that real strong southwest flow? We had a lot of severe weather. Since we've changed this jet stream pattern, we haven't had nearly as much severe storms, although they're scattered here and there. But we do have some weak energy pushing through these areas of jet stream energy, generally moving right along this axis here. And if we look at the trends over the next couple weeks, one of the things that we see is we see this dip in the jet stream working from the central U.S. over to the west. So that's going to change that hot weather to cooler weather over the west. And then what we see here is we see a ridge of high pressure building to the north, and then once it builds to the north, it sort of pushes off to the west as well. So we're going to have some very significant temperature changes as we go forward. We're going to have some much cooler air pushing to the west and some really warm air into the southeast U.S. Now, as far as rainfall goes, looks like this axis right in the middle part of the nation is where we're going to have that 1 to 3 inches of rain, locally more in spots. With soils already wet, we do have the potential for some flash flooding here and there, mainly affecting the Ohio and then the middle Mississippi River. Now the good news again, not as much over the upper Mississippi, although there will be enough to keep those flows fairly high. Now looking out a little bit further here, just to give you an idea of maybe the next 2 weeks, one of the areas we need to keep an eye on is right in here in week 2. I don't think there's a high confidence yet in this area because it's out there a ways, but if we get more rain in here, it's not going to bring the river up hopefully higher than we've seen, but it could bring another crest down. But let's keep an eye on that. It's so far out, not the highest confidence. So 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14, again, these trends, cooler air in the northwest U.S., very warm air and hot air in the southeast and south central. These are going to be significant anomalies. Significantly below normal, significantly above normal, significantly below, significantly above. Precipitation right between these areas, battleground, that's where the heaviest precipitation should be. Looks like this next week the most significant rainfall, but it could extend into week 2 as well. Now, as far as the threat assessment, I did want to show you each day we do have a chance of severe storms today. Sunday, the highest risk in Texas, but some more scattered thunderstorms tomorrow as well. Here's your risk for heavy rain in these areas here, excessive heat here, and that's going to probably be spreading late in the week over to the southeast U.S. Matter of fact, if we look at about a week from now, we're looking at heat index readings in brown above 100. In the sort of the pinkish maroon color, that's between 105 and 110, and even above 115 over 4 South Texas. So overall, a big change in temperature over the next week. Continued vulnerability for high flows, heavy rain, and oppressive heat, so we are going to have a number of weather impacts over the next week or two. And the trends overall are hot and humid south central and southeast, cooler weather over the northwest U.S., and right in the middle between these two will be where the heavy rain is. That's this week's briefing. Have a great week.